Hi, everybody, and welcome to Comfort Zone, a show about the host getting out of their comfort zone. It is our 10th episode, a milestone episode today, and I'm your host, Matt, and I'm joined, as always, by Niléane. Niléane, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm fine. We're missing someone.
We are missing someone. Yeah, I don't exactly know what happened to Chris, but he's serving a timeout. He's being punished a little bit for the things he said last week on the show, which, if you can see behind me, I am representing for Daft Punk because they were slandered last week. It was unacceptable.
He's recovering from the controversy online.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we hope he gets better. He's actually sick. He's under the weather. He should be back next week, but he should be thinking about what he said. And Chris, when you're listening to this episode, you should be thinking about what you said. So he's sick, he's down, and we're hitting him a little bit. I feel a little bad.
I mean, when it's deserved, it's deserved.
It is. Deserved.
Not the sickness.
No, again.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Bad people.
We are bad people.
Yeah.
Well, I am doing well as well. And we have a few things to talk about this week anyway. So let's get it going. Niléane, what are you bringing this week?
Yeah, so my thing is a two-part thing. But first, I wanted to talk about the fact that I've set up live TV on my Plex server. And that was an adventure. Did you know you could do that, by the way?
No, but all things are possible with Plex, so I'm not really surprised.
I know, right? So, yeah, I've had the Plex Pass thing for a while. So that's the paying part. It's a subscription, but you can also buy it for a lifetime, which is what I've done a while ago. And this gives you access to a feature where you can plug in an antenna into a tuner, and that tuner can be connected to your Plex server, which means you can watch live TV on your Plex server. And it's a funny thing because there are the Olympics going on, right? And I've been wanting to watch the Olympics.
Sure.
And it's difficult because, so in France, the broadcaster is the public TV, France TV, and their website is garbage. So
no.
If you want to rely on their web player to watch the Olympics live, good luck. So yeah, I've been down this rabbit hole for the past week to try and find a better way to watch live TV, and Plex, has come in clutch. I remembered that I had a USB stick somewhere in my pile of stuff, and it's an old USB stick where you can, on one end, you can plug in an antenna cable. So if you've got a roof antenna, you can plug in your antenna in the stick, and the stick you can plug in a USB port.
I didn't know these exist.
I've
never heard of that. What?
Yeah, it's a small thing, a €10 thing on Amazon.
Okay.
I bought this thing. I checked my Amazon history. I bought the thing in 2016. And I remember that because at the time I was in a student dorm and it was really hard. We had a really bad connection there. But in our rooms, we did have antenna ports on the wall. And so if you have a TV in your dorm, you can connect to the antenna port and watch live TV on your TV set. And at the time, I bought this USB stick, but I did not, because I did not have a TV. But I wanted to watch at the time the football Euro 2016 live on TV. So I bought this thing back then in 2016, and it worked. I had to watch TV in VLC. Because that's another piece of software that can do everything. You can watch live TV in VLC. If you find a way,
why not?
You can. Why not? You can even record live TV with VLC.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what's your Plex server? Are you using a Mac or something else?
So that's something I've already mentioned once. I've got an old MacBook, a 2015 MacBook Pro in the living room.
That's right.
Yeah, and I've installed Linux on it. So it no longer runs Mac OS, it runs
So
Linux.
okay, a Mac, but not really.
Not really.
Not anymore.
And on it, I've got a bunch of stuff. I've got my Homebridge instance, which is why I've mentioned this before.
Yep, it's coming back to me.
Yeah, I've got other things, a bunch of small things really. I've got a time machine instance running over the air on that thing via Samba, the Samba protocol. It's a whole thing. I wrote about this on Mac Stories actually. And now there's Plex on it. But anyway, so I dug up that USB stick and works really well actually via Plex. But here's the thing. In the living room, the antenna port is on the other hand of the room from my main piece of furniture where there's my TV set, there's the said MacBook Pro, and a bunch of other things. So I've had to run a cable from that port
Yes.
to the MacBook Pro, an antenna cable. And so I measured a bunch of stuff and I came up with the number that I needed at least a 15-meter cable.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was that in Eagle units.
That's like 50
50 feet.
in
Yeah.
eagle units, yes. As we prefer to call them. Freedom units, I think we say.
Freedom units, that's it. And finding that cable was not hard. You can find them online really easily or even in a tech store. The issue is finding a good cable because when you run a cable that length for an antenna signal, any corner can break the signal for a bunch of channels. And it's been really hard to find a good cable that I can run easily along the wall and not break the signal along the way. But I did find one, and now it works. I had another issue, which is an interference issue. And interferences are something that I've been struggling with my whole life, it seems. Last time I mentioned this is because, remember my Thunderbolt talk issue?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that was a thing. It was interfering with Bluetooth and a bunch of things. Here, the issue is that my MacBook Pro running Linux is plugged into the internet via an Ethernet cable. And it turned out that this Ethernet cable ruined the antenna signal when they were plugged on the same dock.
Of course.
Of course. So I've had to plug in the antenna cable into a second port on the MacBook Pro itself. So it's got a dedicated port now. And now it's all good. If you've got Plex and if you're paying for it, I recommend checking this out because it's actually really cool. The end result is I can watch live TV anywhere in the world from the signal of my antenna roof. And thinking about this now, it's pretty good. It's compatible with the HD Home Run. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of this. I know like Casey Liss adores his.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a thing I've never gotten the courage to buy, but I know people love.
Yeah, the HD Home Run, what it does is it's a box. You plug in your antenna into it, and it broadcasts your TV over your network, your local network. And you can use various apps, to watch TV on your network. And there's the Channels app that's popular for that, and Casey Liss mentions that app often. So I investigated that route, but it turns out that Plex can fill in that gap. And if you got a Plex server in the living room like I do, no need for either the Channels app or the HD Home Run. All you need
Yeah.
is a 2016 USB stick.
Yeah, I'm looking at these USB sticks online, and they look as goofy as I thought they would. They're like thumb drives,
Yeah.
but with a little twisty thing at the end.
Yeah, the round part looks really goofy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, um, okay, so yeah, because you plug it into Plex, and that video stream is basically just like any other file on your Plex server. So you could use it on an iPad or from
Exactly.
anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can record live TV. And when you record a broadcast in Plex, you can save it to a specific library in Plex. So you can save a program in your movies library or in your TV shows library. And it's
Mm,
just another file among your other files in your Plex server.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you
And those
schedule
files,
recording?
you can schedule recording.
Mm,
I'm an Olympic nerd, so I've scheduled the closing ceremony.
okay.
So that's going to be recording on my end because I like to keep archive of those. And yeah, it's pretty good. I'm really happy with the setup.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Plex is an interesting one. I feel like Plex is one of those companies that every few years we get mad at them for something, and like I feel like nobody uses them anymore, but then so many people still use them and like it. So um yeah, that's cool. I haven't looked at
Powerful
Plex
stuff.
in a long time.
Yeah, me neither. I had abandoned it. Um, I used to just use the Infuse app
Yep.
to stream content from the server itself, and just connect it via SSH, SFTP, and stream the content directly, stream the files directly, and that worked fine. But the Infuse app has been unstable, to say the least. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. That's been my experience as well,
mm,
which was very upsetting. Ironically, one of the fixes to make Infuse more reliable that I found was to actually set up Plex on whatever device has your files, and then have Infuse look at the Plex server or like log
oh,
in with Plex, and that seems to work better.
yeah. But at this point,
Yeah,
you should just use the Plex app.
yeah. Although, what are we if not a community of people who like to make things more complicated than they need to be? Okay. And okay, so this is live TV. Did you set this up for the Olympics specifically, you said?
Yeah. Um, yeah. Should we talk about this now? Yeah, I guess it's a good transition.
Yeah, let's just
Yeah.
go into the Olympics. So you're
Yeah.
watching the Olympics.
I'm watching the Olympics. So I'm not. I'm an Olympics nerd, but just in the nerdest aspects of it. Um,
Explain.
Nerdiest aspects of it. For example, I have a special interest in the opening and closing ceremonies. I don't know
Hmm.
if you can relate at all to that.
I always watch the opening ceremonies, and
Yeah.
then I never have ever watched the closing
Oh, you don't?
ceremonies.
Okay.
No, they're not as big and like
True.
bombastic. So I guess I don't really know what they are. Since I've never really watched them.
Yeah, they're mostly the same as the opening ceremonies. Although you're right, they're often less grandiose. And for the past decade or so, what they've done for the closing ceremonies is they tend to just be a big concert with the so a bunch of artists perform, and at the end there's the protocol part with the speeches and they extinguish the Olympic flame and all that. And yeah, so this year the opening ceremony in Paris was really interesting. It took
It
place
was.
in the city itself instead of in a stadium.
Hmm.
And so, of course, in France, it's the first time that the Olympics are in my country. So it's been different to be so aware of everything coming up to the Olympics. So I was aware of who the director was for the Olympic ceremony, what they were planning to do, uh, who was to perform, even though there was a bunch of surprises there. and it's been really fascinating to me, especially because I always watch the Olympic ceremonies and tend to analyze them, over-analyze them. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I loved that running up to the Olympic ceremony on the day itself. People were so worried because the rain was pouring down on the city.
It sure was.
Oh yeah. And everyone, like in the media, they were like, "Oh, this is going to ruin everything because everything's outside. It's on the river. Maybe the river level is going to be too high. The boats won't get under the bridges.
Oh my God.
All the catastrophic scenarios." In the end, and that's something that the director itself said. He's Let's talk about that director for a bit. He's called Thomas Joly, and he's a theater director. And you can tell he's an artist, like he's a core artist in his field. And what he had to say about the pouring rain after the fact, after the ceremony, he said it was just amazing. I could not have hoped for better.
Okay.
You
Nice.
could tell he was really, really happy about the end result because in his mind it empowered some of the shows, performances that were taking place. The fact that dancers kept going under the pouring rain and that everything was able to take place on the scene despite the rain, and that everyone was able to perform. And there was a moment, especially in the ceremony, that was a representation of the climate urgency. A bunch of dancers were performing on a boat, on a platform, on the sand, and that was supposed to represent the climate emergency. And yeah, he really loved apparently that the rain was pouring down on those dancers as they were performing this act. So yeah. Anyway, one last thing. Since I've set up live TV on my Plex server, I'm able to fill gaps in my sleepless nights because I tend to have a chaotic sleeping schedule. And at night, there are the surfing competitions. Why at night? Why late in the night? Because they take place in Tahiti.
Yes.
Yeah, in Polynesia. So I don't know. That's 12 hours behind us. So while it's noon there, it's deep in the night here in France, and it's been really soothing. I fell asleep multiple times just watching
Nice.
surfing competitions.
Yeah, the surfing is interesting because like they're not you kind of have to wait for the waves. You can't just like
Exactly.
have a bell go off and then you do your run or whatever. Like you're kind of just like floating out there on your board until the right wave comes, and like it's an interesting thing. I didn't watch much of it, but like my wife did, and she was again really taken aback by like how much of it is just waiting for the right wave.
Yeah. And for you, it's in the evening, right? It's earlier.
um yeah, I think it's in the middle of the day at some
Oh,
point.
okay.
But yeah, we haven't been watching much of the live stuff. We've been mostly watching the primetime coverage
Mm,
at the end of the day. So that's like 7 p.m. until 10:30 our time.
yeah.
And yeah, that's been good. I will say on the opening ceremonies, there were numerous times where I like my reaction was, oh, this is very French. This is very
Oh, really?
what I think it it was. It just felt very French to me. I can't explain it exactly, but like, which is great. I mean, that's what the opening ceremonies are supposed to be, right?
Yeah, sure.
Um, and the metal band that played in the rain,
Oh,
um,
that was
that
Gojira.
was
That was amazing.
that was surprising. That was the first time I've seen metal played at the opening ceremonies, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, I'm mostly watching the primetime coverage, which is like the consolidated like big events. So it's mostly been swimming and gymnastics for me. But
Okay.
I've got to see America win a whole bunch of golds. I think I said last week these are the 2 weeks every couple of years where I'm the most patriotic, and I'm just they're flying the flag. They're all excited, and I'm like, yes, go America.
They had the biggest boat on the Seine. America.
I know. I love that boat. We got LeBron James at the front,
Yeah.
holding the flag like George Washington. I loved it.
By the way, something that's been fueling the memes here is Snoop Dogg.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. So I think most people here don't realize, or well, always wonder, why is he there? Why is he everywhere in in these Olympics? And I think he's a co-host, right? Is that it on NBC?
He's there with NBC. He's working for
Okay.
NBC at the Olympics. I don't know what what his relationship all the time is, but yeah, he's there for NBC to film a bunch of segments and just be a personality and just be the delightful Snoop Dogg that we all know in the
So
past.
strange,
Yeah.
but also love it. Sure.
Yes. Yeah. Snoop Dogg is really, it's really interesting because like I was a kid when Snoop Dogg was more known as a musician who was making controversial music, and now he's just like this delightful guy that everyone loves for being adorable most of the time. So
That's a
it's
good
really
arc.
yeah, it's quite the transition that he's made successfully apparently too.
Yeah. You said the Olympic ceremony felt very French to you, and that's really interesting because I think I speak for many French people
Ooh,
that we
okay.
were very worried that this was going to be the case because when the French tend to be something that they want to look very French, they tend to just um, take out all of these stereotypical things, cringy things,
Mm.
like people wearing berets and sporting a baguette under the arm
Hmm.
and dancing the cancan, which they did, by the way. But fortunately, that was sweet and short.
Okay.
Did not last too long. But in the end, I think most people here were pleasantly surprised that this was a very original show.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, because
very unexpected.
it's usually like the boats were interesting in a whole different way than like you normally see with people walking out into stadium. And I also kind of like that the show, because the show is usually like 30 minutes or an hour or something at the start, and then it's hours of people marching in with their
Yeah.
country. And then this time it was like there was some ceremony. Then we watched people coming in, but they were coming in constantly, and then there'd be like different segments of the show. A new musician would perform, or there'd be a new dance or a new short film in the middle. So it kind of made it more interesting throughout for me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool that they used the city more, even though it rained, and although apparently they loved that. So, but
They
it didn't
did.
ruin it by any means. I didn't think.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think it looked really sick in some places there. Yeah. But apparently they did cancel at the last minute a bunch of small performances that were supposed to
Mm,
take place on the roofs
okay.
around the Seine. Because apparently, like, they were planning to, especially early in the ceremony, to flood the roofs around the Seine with dancers. And there were still some shots that were left in where there's a ballet dancer performing on one roof, and it's a beautiful shot with Paris behind him. But
Mhm.
apparently, it was planned that behind him, on other roofs, it was to be filled,
Oh.
supposed to be filled with dancers. But they
Mhm.
had to cancel that because of the rain, because I suppose roofs be slippery in the rain. Yeah,
Well, that's a little bit of a bummer, but
sure.
still.
And they were mostly planning on the golden hour light
Mm,
early in the ceremony, but instead we
okay.
had gray skies.
Well,
That was
they were
Olympic
still pretty
stock.
good. Cool. Yeah, and we're filming this at the end, or we're recording this at the end of the first week of the Olympics.
Yeah.
So I think next week is more of the track and field stuff. So we have no idea how that went out or that went. So don't hold it against us. But yeah, the last night I got to see the U.S. women's gymnastics all around finals. So Simone Biles winning another gold medal.
GG.
GG, everybody. All right. Well, I have brought an app this week, and it's another new app. Very traditional pick for Comfort Zone, an app. You're shocked, I know. And this is a new app that came out a couple weeks ago, and I probably could have talked about it then, but I wanted to let it sit for a little bit longer because I have more complicated feelings about it than I felt I could share like right away when it came out. And that app is Overcast, which just went through a major rewrite and a new update that released on the 10th anniversary of the app. And I think there's some good and some bad stuff with it. And I think that's what a lot of people are feeling with it, including Marco, the developer, Marco Arment. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to talk about, after maybe a month using it at this point, I think, like what's going well and what I think was maybe rushed out too early, or I hope that is fixed soon. So this is normally where I would say, Niléane, do you listen to podcasts? But I think you do. I do. So what do you use for your podcast app? Are you an Overcast fan, or do you bounce around?
So I am an Overcast fan, but something happened this year. Apple released transcripts in Apple Podcasts, and that has changed everything for me.
I was going to say changed everything.
Everything for me, because I've been using Overcast for years, and I don't even remember since when, but yeah. And so I'm mostly using Apple Podcasts currently, but I've been checking out Overcast since the redesign, the rewrite for the past month. So yeah. Yeah.
And I think, did you do the review on Mac Stories?
I did.
Of course. You beat me again to the punch. This is just what happens. I just go through Niléane's like drafts on Mac Stories, and I see what I can talk about.
You've got access to the GitHub repo.
Yeah. So I've been using, I think you're totally right. I think that transcripts in Apple Podcasts is like the best new feature in any podcast app in like years. For me, I think it's the best thing since Overcast added clip sharing like 4 or 5 years ago, which I think I may be the only person in the world who uses on a regular basis, but I think is really awesome.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah. So yeah, I use Overcast. I kind of bounce around. I can't stick with anything forever. So like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I like Castro's queuing and inbox system. I really like that. But then I realized that Castro kind of it withered on the vine for a few years, and the new owners are hopefully going to fix that. But yeah, it has other issues that I don't love about it. And then I go to Apple Podcasts, but then I find that UI to be a little busy for me. It's not exactly what I want. It's just a couple more taps to get to everything that I need. And then I get tired of that. So I go back to Overcast or Pocket Cast or something. And like, on the one hand, I'm happy that the Apple ecosystem has so many good podcast apps. But Overcast is the one that I always come back to. So I'm an Overcast user right now. I may switch for like a month sometime in the next year, but I'll come back to Overcast, I'm sure. And I was excited for this update because Overcast is, I guess I should explain why I use Overcast. I use Overcast because it just lets me do the very simple thing of subscribe to my podcasts, have new episodes show up like right after they release, and just be reliable, always work. And that was super useful to me. I didn't need a ton of new features. It just worked great for me. And the one piece of feedback I would have for it is it kind of felt like an older iOS app. Not like a legacy piece of software or anything, but like it worked kind of like how iOS apps worked 5, 6, 7 years ago. And there's like, ever since Swift UI, there's been like kind of these new paradigms. and new UI elements that Overcast just didn't use. Wasn't a huge deal, but it did feel a little old. And it turns out, I'll direct people to, I'll put a link in the show notes, but there's a recent episode of the Accidental Tech podcast where Marco Arment, the developer of Overcast, talks for like an hour on what the state of Overcast was, what he felt like he needed to do to like get it up to date and make it a thing he could actually maintain and add new features to going forward, because he was apparently just in a mountain of technical debt and it was just a pain to do anything. And so really great episode. He talks about like how like it got so bad that like he felt like should I even be a developer anymore, because I don't know if I can do this anymore. Really great episode. Highly recommend listening to it. But yeah, so he basically rewrote the entire UI of the iPhone app and therefore the iPad and Mac app, a lot using Swift UI, and it's got a new design that's very similar to the old one, but with a couple little tweaks. And I think the new design is pretty good, but definitely coming in hot, is what I would say. I like the now playing screen. I like that you can like tap the artwork to see the show notes and they just kind of like fade in and cover the whole screen. I like that he's improved the download indicator. I like that he's moved away from the kind of like 5 panes thing on the now playing screen where you would like swipe left and right to get to different things. Like I was always like multiple pages away from the thing I needed to do. And now it's kind of all just one. The
panes were small.
Yeah, and they were very small, you're right. And show notes were weird. The new design there, I think, is a step forward overall. I don't think it's perfect. We'll get into that. But yeah, so I do like this new design. And again, it's built in Swift UI, so it feels a little fresher. Things just look a little nicer. Not like remarkable or anything, but it is definitely nicer than it was before. But there have been a few issues for me. And the issues are, well, there's one big one. And one of the things I liked about Overcast is that the sync was super fast and super reliable. So like I would listen on my iPhone and then I'd want to switch to my iPad and I could just open the app on my iPad and it was exactly where I was in the same episode. And I could just pick up listening there. That doesn't work for me anymore on the new app.
Really?
And that's because sync just doesn't work at like literally at all for me. So all of my devices are on different sync profiles because none of them can see the other devices and see that there are sync profiles that they can even use. So like, it's very strange. I have no idea what's going on there. It's very weird. I take it you have not had that issue.
I have not, but Marco did release a fix for that, didn't he? For the sync issues?
It was in the release notes, and it did not fix my issue.
Oh, okay.
So, so I've uninstalled the app, I've reinstalled the app, I've tried all the things, right? Like I'm not new to troubleshooting. I know the basics. So I've done all those things, and then like the tricky thing is, I was like, okay, well maybe I should just like delete the sync profile and like maybe like delete it on all the devices. But there's no OMPL import or export right now. So I can't save my shows. I'd have to like resubscribe to everything again, which I'm loath to do. I don't particularly want to do that, but maybe I need to fix this and get it into a good state. But yeah, that's the biggest bummer for me is like, maybe it is literally just me, but it was super reliable for many, many years, and then this new update came out, and like it just didn't work for me anymore, which is a bummer.
Yeah, it is. You can. Yeah, I was about to say you can export your OPML file on the web, but I don't think you can import.
You're right.
Yeah, you can export. I can see it. But
Okay.
You can't import. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll just be an iPhone only listener until the import features brought back. But the other thing that I would love to see improved is the now playing screen, which I said I do like on the whole. I think there are too many buttons too far apart as on that page, though. And what I mean by that is the chapters are kind of up and to the left of the progress bar, and they're far away from the like audio settings and far away from the info button. And if I want to share an episode, so like I said I do a lot of clip sharing, so I like to share links to podcasts. That's 2 taps away now. I have to hit the info, and then all the way at the top of the screen, I hit the share button. And so there's just a couple things like that. Oh, and the touch targets. The touch targets are pretty small compared to what they were.
The button is very small.
Yeah, I was talking with someone who uses Overcast in their car, and they don't have CarPlay or anything, so their phone's just kind of mounted up on the dashboard. And they said their biggest challenge with this one is they can't, like while they're driving, they can't tap that button because they can't hit it accurately, while they were able to swipe more easily with the old UI. So I don't know what the solution is here. Maybe I should do a mock-up and see what makes sense. Maybe I'll just decide that, oh, actually he's done it as good as he can do it. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do here. But yeah, the touch targets are a little small, and they're all kind of spread out in a way that I don't love personally.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I get the idea of having the chapters button around the progress bar. Progress bar.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But maybe they should be at the bottom of the screen, like along the sound features and AirPlay and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of think so as well. And like, especially like I'm using an iPhone, like a Max phone, and there's just so much space down there.
Well, you brought this on yourself. Here.
I bought the best phone.
Sure.
Bigger phones are better. Yeah, so that's a thing. It's not the biggest thing in the world. The sync issue has definitely been more of a thing for me. So maybe I should try to fix that through whatever I can do. But yeah, so I know you reviewed it already, but if you could summarize maybe, how do you like the new app, the new update? Are there anything that stood out to you?
I mean, I agree with everything you said, basically. But I do think it's it's a welcome rewrite. Like, the app feels a lot better overall. And as a longtime fan of the app, I'm excited this is how I concluded my review. Mm-hmm. I'm excited that he has a new foundation to move the app forward. And that's a really good thing because, as you said, the app has been stagnating for a while. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to see how well it can be updated from now on and how regularly it can be updated from now on. One thing that I've seen a bunch of people be upset about is the removal of the ability to stream episodes. So now in the new Overcast, you have to download episodes and you can't just stream them. But I think that's mitigated with the fact that the app is really fast. Like, the server stuff is really fast. I don't even have to think about it. You just tap on an episode and it starts playing because the download only took about a few seconds at most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, maybe more of an issue if you just have slow internet.
Yeah, I suppose.
But yeah, I should say, before we get any further, I should say I was a little negative there on the things that I didn't like. I am super happy that the app was rewritten and is a more maintainable code base that can get updates more easily. And I hope that it actually pans out and he's able to do a bunch of updates and make the app better and add all these features that he's wanted and users have wanted for a long time. I guess I was coming from a few minutes ago more of a normal user's perspective of I was using this app that worked a certain way and I was used to it, and it changed in ways where the benefits aren't necessarily there yet.
Yeah.
Right? Some of the things are nicer, but it did lose some features, it lost some functionality, and there have been some stability issues which just come with a new software update. But yeah, I think it would have been nice if this update could have been less tied to a milestone. Like it seemed very important to him to get the update out on the exact 10th anniversary of the app coming out. And, you have to ship eventually. If you wait till it's perfect, you're never going to ship anything. I work in software design. I know how this works. But yeah, I do think it was maybe it came in a little hot, more than ideally it would have been. But yeah, again, it is a better foundation. And hopefully this will just mean that a month from now, 2 months from now, all of these complaints are no longer issues, and then we can just keep going forward from there.
Yeah, for me, I have an issue right now, a dilemma, because this redesign has made me want to use the app again. But where are the transcripts? I need them now. I didn't know I needed them, but I need them now.
They're so nice. Yeah.
It's really nice. And I know that's really hard because of course, Marco isn't going to be able to add transcripts to everything and be just as nice, because the amount of computing power that this requires, unless he's got some third-party provider, that's a whole thing.
Which is going to cost a ton. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not something you can expect in a third-party app like Overcast. So yeah, I'm struggling. I want to use Overcast, but I can't. I want to read. I want to read podcasts.
I like to read my podcast.
I like to read my podcast.
Episode title.
True.
Yeah. I don't know how he would do that. It is interesting. The one thing that keeps me like on Overcast is the clip sharing. And again, I might be like one of 5 people in the world who use it, but it really is so useful to me, and I like sharing those on social media, and hopefully it drives at least like 1 or 2 people to listen to podcasts that they didn't listen to otherwise. But I love that. The one thing I wish he could add, and he might be able to do this, again, if more than 5 people used the feature, but what I did for a year, I had like a free year of Captions, the app, which lets you put...
Yeah.
A lot of people with social media accounts use this, where it lets you put just
I use
fancy...
it for work.
Yeah. So it's really nice for social media stuff. And I liked, basically, I would save a clip in Overcast, and then I would open that clip in Captions to add visual captions to it as well, so that people would be able to just read along as the clip goes. And I would love it if he could build that into the app somehow. Like, I think that would be really, really awesome. To not have to use this like $100 a year other service to add those. And I'm wondering if like Apple Intelligence will let him do that in some way. Like, can he transcribe the audio somehow? I don't really know, but I wonder if that's a way he could do transcripts in a smaller way. That's not like the Apple Podcasts best in class sort of thing that they have.
Yeah, something that's working live on the device.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want to... Because you can use like, there's a beta of Mac Whisper out right now, and there's like Transcriptionist. There's a couple transcription apps that let you transcribe audio and video files on the iPhone right now, but it takes forever, and it takes like so much processing power, and it would kill your battery, and you'd have to like leave Overcast open and screen on for them to work. So yeah, there's really no good way to do that. But if it's only a clip, if it's only like 30 seconds, you could probably do that if you really wanted to.
Well, you say that you're the only one using the clip sharing feature, but what I see every so often since the addition of transcripts in Apple Podcasts is people screen recording.
I've done this, yes.
You've done this?
Yes.
Yeah, screen recording the transcripts pane in Apple Podcasts to share again.
Yes, and it's honestly kind of better in a way. Like there's some complications with it. Having used it, it's kind of hard because the text scrolls and it scrolls out of view maybe when you don't want it to, but it's so great to like, I think that's more engaging than kind of the videos that Overcast does now, where it's just like a static image with a progress bar that's going across. Like, seeing the words is definitely better.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I have a question. If Apple Podcasts went away and you couldn't use it anymore, what would you switch to? And if it's Overcast, what if that went away? What would you switch to?
Oh, okay. I was about to say, but well, okay.
It would just be Overcast, yeah. I realized halfway through the question it wasn't going to work.
That's a tough question. Maybe Castro.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the UI in Castro, but Castro is not available on the Mac, and I listen to podcasts on my Mac a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that can be mitigated because, I mean, now that I mostly use my AirPods, automatic switching works in good enough to have something playing on a second device while working on the Mac. Sure. So I'd say Castro.
Castro, okay.
Yeah, I'd say Castro.
Okay. I think I agree. I mean, the other option is Pocket Casts, which
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I know I don't know what it is. Like Pocket Casts, like on paper is so good and it's everything. It's on every platform. It does actually really cool sync. It does like Spotify style syncing where like if you're like in the middle of an episode, not only does it sync your position on the other device, but like if you open it on another device, like the now playing screen is that podcast.
Yeah.
So you can just like immediately pick up where you left off. But like, I just don't like using it as much as I like using these other apps. It's weird. I don't quite know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but
It's one of those apps that I recommend a ton and don't like to use from myself.
yes, absolutely. Oh man, that might be an interesting thing to write about or do a video about, or maybe we can talk about it on the podcast one day of like apps that I love, but I recommend other people use something else.
Yeah. Pocket Cast is in there for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Obsidian is in there for me. Like I use Obsidian for very specific things that I could not do anywhere else. But if you want to take notes, I recommend Apple Notes or something like that.
Yeah.
Could be a segment for another episode.
All right.
Interesting.
Chris is writing this down.
Oh, yes. Chris, I hope you're taking notes.
I hope you're working, Chris. You're not slacking, right? Supposedly you're in bed.
Listening to good music, I hope.
Yeah.
Which could be anything.
Could be.
I'm not implying anything at all.
Should we check on Chris? Because, so, he's not here. But I know someone... have to do this on real time. But I know someone who can sub in for him. So yeah, Chris, what are you up to this week during COVID and stuff?
Hey, thanks for checking in. While I'm recovering, I'm diving deep into some iPadOS projects I've been meaning to tackle. You wouldn't believe the new shortcuts I've been able to automate.
Oh.
Also, it's a good time to catch up on some reading.
Oh, he reads.
Daft Punk actually claimed their helmets improve their music. Can you believe that? It's just another reason I can't stand them.
No.
Oh my God.
Oh.
He's the worst.
He's not ready to come back.
No.
He needs to change his mind on this. Chris. Robot Chris. Oh.
Yeah, they're the same person.
Man, sounded the same too. Really iconic.
Wow, that was terrible. Anyway.
So yeah, that's Overcast. Some good stuff, some bad stuff, but hopefully it's just like incredible update after incredible update from now on.
Yay.
And this is when we would normally go into our challenge, but we thought that it was not fair, since this is a podcast about points and winning now,
and fairness.
And fairness, things I have not experienced. I haven't experienced winning or fairness in any of these.
I've had a bunch of fairness.
Lots of winning as well. An entire episode was just about you winning. It was tough for us. So we're gonna hold off. As a reminder, we're looking for games, daily games that we think are excellent. We're gonna try to find what we think is the best for us personally, and then we're gonna each bring one that we are gonna fight to the death, and we'll have one game that we think is the best for everybody. So another week to prep and get something really, really good.
Just know
Even
that
though
I have a good pick.
I have a better pick. I'm going to win so good. This is my week. I'm finally going to get a W on the board.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel so good about it every week, and then I lose. So this is a good episode because I can't lose. There's no contest.
I mean, okay, yeah, sure. I was about to bring in some.
I know. You.
I should not.
I'll never win. So, challenge next week. Same thing as before. I don't think we have anything else this week. It's going to be a slightly shorter episode than normal, but I enjoyed doing this. It was cool. We hope Chris is back, despite all the gruff. We do hope he's back next week and feeling great. He's also going to listen to this episode and have a lot of things to say, so I expect our follow-up is going to be significant next week. You can find the rest of my work on birchtree.me. It's where I write everything. Also on social media, links in the description. Niléane, do you have anything going on this week or anything you want to plug?
No, just find me on Mastodon and on macstories.net and on my couch watching TV.
Excellent. During the Olympics.
Via Plex. Yeah.
Ooh, and I don't have the fancy app that Chris has for picking questions. What's your favorite color, though?
Oh, that's a good one.
A classic.
Obviously, this changes throughout the years, but currently I would say orange, but not orange, like not orange like this headset that I'm wearing. Although that's pink according to Apple, but they're weird. I would say like kind of mustard yellow, almost orange. Yeah, that shade.
Okay. Excellent.
What about you?
So for me, I think it has to be purple. And any purple. I just like purple.
Okay. I agree.
Yes.
You're
Fine.
allowed.
Okay, it is allowed. It's not illegal like some other things.
It's allowed, yeah. I mean, Chris is going to pick black, or brown. I mean, have you seen his setup on YouTube? Yeah. Or deep blue. He would pick deep blue, maybe.
Okay, Chris, another follow-up item for tomorrow or for next week.
I can ask Robot Chris, but that's going to take forever. So.
Oh, yeah. The lag is insane with these robots. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for listening. We look forward to seeing you next time, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.